The chosen one, the storm raged within you, silent yet deafening. It wasn't the kind that shatters glass or uproots trees. It was the kind that tears open the soul. A voice echoed somewhere between thought and heartbeat. You tried to dismiss it, but it returned, softer, steadier, undeniable. It said one thing only. Now you froze. For months, maybe years, you had been drifting, learning, healing, waiting for a sign that the ache inside you meant something more than emptiness. You read every book, whispered every affirmation, watched every sunrise hoping for a message. Yet now, when the universe finally spoke, you were not ready. Because the message was not comfort, it was command. You had been searching for peace. But destiny does not offer peace. It offers purpose. You felt it, the tremor beneath your ribs, the pull that defied reason. Something ancient within you had awakened, something older than fear. And yet, in that awakening, came doubt. Was this voice divine? Or was it madness disguised as meaning? You tried to silence it, to return to the predictable rhythm of your days, but silence became impossible. Every conversation, every glance, every sleepless night began to whisper the same truth. You are being called. The truth frightened you, because if this was a calling, it meant your life could no longer remain the same. It meant everything you had been, every identity, every defense, every small dream built for safety was about to burn away. You wanted to resist. You told yourself, I am not ready. I am not enough. But the voice did not listen. It whispered again. This time not from the outside, but from within. You were never meant to be ready. You were meant to be chosen. You stand now at a threshold, the point between the life you built and the life that was built for you. The doorway hums with quiet fire. One step forward and everything changes. One step back and the rest of your life becomes an echo of what could have been. You close your eyes. You see flashes, your past failures, your doubts, the moments you almost gave up. And then you see something else, light, not around you, but within you. You realize the journey was never about finding light in the world. It was about uncovering the light you had buried beneath layers of fear. The world told you awakening was about peace, love, clarity. But now you understand awakening is destruction before rebirth. It is the soul remembering its own magnitude and collapsing under the weight of that truth. You fall to your knees, trembling. Every illusion begins to dissolve the illusion of control, the illusion of time, the illusion that you were ever small. You are breaking, but this time the breaking feels holy. You whisper, barely audible, why me? And for the first time, the silence answers, because you asked for truth. And truth never arrives gently. You remember every night you begged for a sign. This is it. Not the comfort of certainty, but the discomfort of purpose. You stand. The air feels heavier, charged, alive. The room is the same, yet everything looks different. Colors sharper, shadows deeper. The ordinary suddenly sacred. You feel as though something unseen is waiting, watching, measuring whether you will rise or retreat. This is the first test not of strength, but of surrender. Will you trust the unseen? Will you walk forward, knowing nothing except that your soul demands it? Because here's the secret the awakened rarely tell. The moment you accept the call, the world begins to rearrange itself around your decision. Doors appear where there were walls. Allies emerge disguised as strangers. Synchronicities multiply until disbelief becomes impossible. But the call is not without a cost. You will lose people. You will lose the comfort of ignorance. You will lose the version of yourself that believed survival was enough. And yet, what you gain will be immeasurable. The ability to see, to create, to command the unseen forces of your destiny. You take a breath. The storm quiets, not because it's over, but because you have become part of it. You no longer resist the voice. You become the voice. The awakening ends here. The becoming begins. You step forward. The air hums. The world watches. Destiny waits. The chosen one. You awaken before dawn. The world is silent, yet inside, everything screams. The night still clings to your skin, cold and uncertain. You sit at the edge of your bed, staring into the dark, unsure whether you have just awakened or whether you have been dreaming all along. Last night, something shifted. You heard the voice again. Clearer, closer, burning through your mind like sacred fire. But now, the voice is gone. Only silence remains. And that silence feels heavier than sound. You walk to the window. The sky is pale and indifferent, the first light of morning stretching thin across the horizon. Somewhere in that fading darkness, a question whispers, was any of it real? You begin to doubt. Was the calling just imagination? A trick of your restless mind? Maybe you wanted meaning so badly that you created one. Maybe this awakening was only another illusion, one wrapped in prettier words. You remember how they looked at you when you tried to explain, the disbelief in their eyes, the polite smiles, the quiet dismissal. You've changed, they said. But what they meant was, you've lost your way. That stung more than you expected, because deep down, a part of you wondered if they were right. You used to be certain of who you were, of what the world was, of what tomorrow would bring. Now, everything you touch dissolves. Every truth you once held turns to dust. And yet, something inside refuses to let go. You step outside. The air is cold, sharp, alive with something unseen. The street is empty. The world seems asleep, unaware that it is standing on the edge of transformation. You look up. The sky looks back. For a moment, you feel it again, the pulse of something vast and wordless. The same force that moves the stars seems to breathe through you. You are both the observer and the observed, both the prayer and the answer. It's overwhelming. You want to surrender, to trust that you're part of something divine. But then your mind intrudes again, demanding logic, proof, reason. It tells you to return to the ordinary world, to stop reaching for what cannot be seen. You feel the tension tear at you, heart versus mind, faith versus fear, destiny versus doubt. And for the first time, you realize this battle will not end quickly. Because awakening is not a single moment of light, it is a series of deaths. You think of the person you used to be, the one who wanted control, the one who believed effort could bend fate. That version of you is fading, but what replaces it? You don't know yet. The in-between terrifies you, the silence between who you were and who you're becoming. You crave clarity, but clarity does not come. Only questions, only silence, only the faint echo of that same voice whispering from deep within. Keep walking. And so you do. You begin to notice things you never saw before. The flicker of streetlights, as if signaling messages. The sudden chill that feels like presence. The way your heartbeat syncs with the wind. It's as though reality is bending around you, testing your awareness. You are not imagining this. You are being refined. Every shadow, every delay, every silence is part of your initiation. Days pass like chapters in a forgotten book. You lose interest in things that once defined you. Conversations that once felt alive now sound hollow. Crowded rooms feel suffocating. You crave solitude, not because you dislike others, but because the noise of the world drowns out the voice of your soul. So you retreat. At first, the isolation feels unbearable. You question whether you're falling apart. But in that isolation, something strange begins to happen. You start to hear the silence differently. It no longer feels empty, it feels alive. The stillness becomes a teacher, revealing truths you never noticed before. You begin to see patterns, how your pain shaped your wisdom, how your losses built your strength, how every ending was quietly preparing you for a beginning you could not yet see. You realize the universe has never been silent. You simply weren't listening deeply enough. One night, as you sit in the quiet, it happens again. A whisper, not from the sky this time, but from the marrow of your bones. It says nothing new. It says only remember. And with that single word, everything shifts. You remember the promise you made before you were born, to walk this exact path, to bring light where others see none, to rise not once, but many times. You remember that this silence is sacred, that every doubt is part of your training, that every delay is divine timing in disguise. Tears rise, but not of despair. They are the tears of recognition, of knowing you were never lost, only being prepared. You whisper to the night, I am ready to remember, and the wind answers not in words, but in the quiet warmth that floods your chest. You realize you are not alone. You never were. This is the space between worlds, the place where faith is forged and illusions die. You are no longer the seeker. You are the becoming. The silence is not your enemy. It is your initiation, and when you can finally sit inside that silence without fear, when you no longer beg for answers, but allow truth to reveal itself in its own time, that is when the universe begins to move through you effortlessly. You lift your head. The first light of dawn breaks across the sky, and, though nothing has changed outside, you know everything has changed within. You whisper, let it begin, and somewhere in the unseen, something does. Your transformation is no longer a theory, it is a current pulling you forward, unstoppable, undeniable. You were never meant to find peace in the silence, you were meant to become it. The chosen one. The silence has ended. Now comes the fire. It begins subtly, a flicker in your chest, a pulse that was not there before. At first, you think it's anxiety, your body reacting to the weight of change. But it grows, it deepens, it burns. It is not fear, it is power awakening. For the first time, you feel it, the living flame of your purpose, stirring from beneath years of doubt. Every breath feels charged. Every step feels watched. The world seems to tremble, not with danger, but with recognition. You are no longer invisible to the universe. It sees you now, and it expects something from you. You try to carry on as before, to move through your day like nothing's changed, but everything inside you refuses to obey. The fire consumes your old patterns, your excuses, your distractions. Things that once mattered now crumble like ash. You find yourself pulled toward new experiences, new people, new directions that make no sense to your rational mind. You resist at first. You tell yourself this is temporary, that you're just tired, that soon you'll return to normal. But the truth is, normal no longer exists. You have crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed. Every time you ignore your calling, the fire grows hotter. Every time you resist your truth, the universe turns up the heat, until you realize that running from purpose burns far more painfully than walking toward it. One night, the fire speaks not as words, but as knowing. It tells you to release everything that cannot walk with you into your next. You hesitate, because what it demands is not small. It demands the release of safety, the surrender of control, the letting go of people who once felt like home. You remember the friend who laughed when you shared your vision, the partner who told you to be realistic, the family that couldn't see your growth without feeling their own stagnation. You love them, but love cannot be the chain that keeps you from becoming. You stand in front of your mirror, looking into eyes you barely recognize. You see both the fear of the human and the fire of the divine. And in that moment, you understand the two must merge, or one will consume the other. This is the crucible of the chosen. Faith must burn through fear. Love must outlast loss. Purpose must survive misunderstanding. The fire grows stronger each day. You begin to feel things before they happen. You sense energy before it enters a room. You can tell when someone hides pain behind a smile, or when their words carry shadows of deception. It's not magic, it's remembrance. You are remembering how to see beyond illusion, but power comes with its own trials. For every moment of clarity, there comes a wave of doubt. You begin to question your sanity again. You ask yourself, why me? Why now? The voice that once comforted you now feels distant. The signs that once guided you seem to vanish. It's as though the universe has gone silent again just when you thought you understood. And that's when you realize the truth. The universe doesn't test your strength by giving you challenges. It tests your faith by giving you silence. Will you still believe when the fire burns but the guidance fades? Will you still walk forward when the light disappears and only heat remains? You feel yourself caught between two forces, the calling that pulls you upward and the fear that drags you down. It's an invisible tug of war inside your spirit. You start dreaming vividly. In one dream, you're walking through fire, untouched. In another, you're falling endlessly through dark water. When you wake, both feel equally real. You begin to understand that your awakening is not a straight path, it spirals. Growth, collapse, faith, doubt, each one returns, deeper than before. You find yourself standing in the ruins of who you once were, surrounded by ashes of old beliefs. And though it hurts, there's a strange beauty in it. The beauty of becoming new. You whisper to the fire, "What do you want from me?" And it answers, not in sound, but in revelation. Everything. It wants every false identity, every limitation, every lie you ever told yourself about who you are. It wants the parts of you still pretending to be small. It wants your surrender. At first, surrender feels like defeat. You've been taught to fight, to control, to strive. But now you begin to see that surrender is not weakness, it is alignment. You stop resisting the fire. You let it burn through the old, and the pain you feared becomes light. The fear you avoided becomes power. The tears you shed become sacred water, cooling the parts of you that still doubt. You realize that this fire is not destroying you, it is refining you. You are being forged into someone the world has not yet seen. The fire is your teacher, and you are its chosen student. Days pass. You notice the world responding differently to you. People speak softer around you, not out of fear, but reverence they cannot explain. Opportunities begin to appear without effort. Synchronicities multiply. You think of something, and within hours, it finds you. You are learning the language of energy, the unspoken dialect of creation itself. But remember this, every gift comes with a test. Every fire reveals not only light, but shadow. The same power that allows you to heal can also destroy if used without clarity. The same fire that illuminates your path can consume you if fueled by ego. So, you must choose. Will you serve the fire or master it? Will you use this power for purpose or possession? The question hangs in the air like smoke. You feel the universe waiting for your answer. You close your eyes. The fire hums quietly in your chest, no longer wild, but watchful. It is not an enemy, not a punishment, not even a test. It is your essence. You whisper, "I will serve the light within the fire." And for the first time, the flame softens. It does not fade, it transforms. It becomes warmth instead of heat, purpose instead of pain. And in that moment, you understand. The fire was never meant to consume you. It was meant to crown you. You have not lost control. You have become control. And as dawn rises once again, you stand taller than you ever have before. Not because you are fearless, but because you are finally aligned. You are no longer afraid of the fire. You are the fire. Write 333 inches the comments. It's a prophetic sign of your divine alignment. The chosen one, the fire within you has settled. No longer a raging storm, but a steady, burning core. It hums quietly beneath your ribs, a reminder that you carry something sacred, something that must now be lived, not merely understood. But with every new level of light comes a new shadow. And now, the shadows begin to move. At first, they come disguised as doubts. Small, familiar thoughts whispering in the back of your mind. What if I imagined it all? What if I'm not chosen at all? You tell yourself you've already overcome this, that your faith is stronger now. But the whisper grows louder, because the closer you walk to truth, the more lies rise to meet you. You start noticing the shift. The world reacts differently to you now. Some people are drawn closer, pulled by your light. Others withdraw, their discomfort masked as indifference, or worse, hostility. It confuses you. You've done nothing but exist more truthfully. And yet, truth has always been the greatest provocation. The fire inside you radiates through your words, your silence, your presence. People feel it even when you don't speak. Some find peace in it, others, reflection. But for many, it mirrors what they hide. You begin to see it, the hidden resentment, the quiet envy, the subtle judgment. Those who once supported you now question you. They say you've changed. They say you're distant. But what they truly mean is you no longer fit inside the story they once told about you. This realization cuts deep, because for the first time, you understand that being chosen often means being misunderstood. You try to explain, but words fail. How do you describe a fire that doesn't burn, a silence that speaks, a truth that feels alive? You want them to see what you see, to feel what you feel, but their eyes are still adjusting to the light, and you can't force someone to awaken before their soul is ready. So you fall silent. You stop defending your path. You stop seeking validation. You stop needing to be understood. And though it hurts, something remarkable happens in that silence. You begin to hear your own voice again, clearer than ever. It tells you what you already know. This is not rejection. It is refinement. Every person who leaves creates space for those who are meant to arrive. Every loss is a quiet rearrangement of destiny. You start to trust the pattern. You realize that even pain has choreography. But still, the nights are hard. There are moments when the fire feels too heavy to bear. Moments when you wish you could unlearn everything to go back to ignorance, to illusion, to sleep. Because awareness is both gift and burden. You lie awake, staring at the ceiling, feeling the pressure of a truth too vast for your human heart. You whisper into the dark, "I didn't ask for this." And the voice answers gently, "You did. You just forgot." You remember now, the longing that guided you, the endless search for meaning, the nights you cried out to the stars asking to see what others could not. The universe gave you exactly what you asked for, sight, but sight comes with responsibility. And now, you must learn how to carry it. As the days unfold, something deeper awakens in you. Not power, not clarity, but compassion. You begin to see beyond behavior into the ache behind it. The anger of others no longer triggers you. It reveals their unhealed wounds. The rejection you once feared now feels like protection. The chaos of the world no longer feels personal. It feels like a collective pain calling for light. You begin to understand that your purpose was never about escaping the world, but transforming it, not by force, not by persuasion, but by presence, because true light doesn't argue. It doesn't prove. It simply shines until everything false is revealed. And yet, a strange paradox begins to take root. The more you shine, the lonelier you feel. Not because you are unloved, but because you now dwell between two worlds, the human and the divine, the seen and the unseen. It's a sacred loneliness, a kind that even peace cannot erase. You walk through crowds and feel the hum of energy beneath every heartbeat. You look into eyes and see entire universes reflected back. You begin to realize that your existence has never been small. It was only your awareness that was. This understanding should bring comfort, but instead, it brings weight. Because knowing the world's pain means you can no longer ignore it. You feel called to act, to heal, to speak, to use the fire within you to ignite others. But fear returns. What if you fail? What if your light is not enough? And the universe, patient as ever, responds with silence, because it knows that the greatest lessons are not spoken, they are chosen. You start to move differently. You speak with intention. You listen without needing to respond. You no longer chase, meaning you become it. Each morning feels like a quiet ceremony. You light a candle, not for prayer, but for remembrance. You remember who you are. You remember that you are both student and teacher, creation and creator, flame and vessel. You remember that being chosen was never about being special, it was about being willing. The light within you is not asking for perfection, it is asking for presence. And in your quiet moments, you begin to understand something deeper. The light was never meant to make you comfortable. It was meant to make you capable. The world outside grows louder, more chaotic, more divided, more uncertain. And yet, inside you, there is calm. You are not detached from the pain of the world, but you no longer drown in it. You stand in the storm as stillness itself. You realize that this is what the awakening was, for not to escape darkness, but to carry light into it. You are no longer reacting to life. You are directing it. This is what it means to hold the weight of light, to walk through fire and not burn, to face shadow and not falter, to meet resistance and still love. And though your journey is far from over, you sense what comes next. The light within you is preparing for something greater, something that will test not just your faith, but your heart. Because soon, you will not just carry light, you will become its weapon, the chosen one. The light you carry has begun to draw attention, not just from those who seek healing, but from the shadows that fear it. It starts subtly, as it always does. A missed opportunity, a sudden argument, a wave of exhaustion that feels heavier than it should. You tell yourself it's coincidence, but deep down, you know every force of light attracts its reflection. Every revelation invites resistance. This is not punishment. This is initiation, because the universe will not let you ascend without proving that you can remain awake when the world tempts you to sleep again. At first, you fight back. You try to outthink the chaos, to control the outcome, to force peace into places that resist it. But the harder you fight, the more everything slips from your grasp. The people you trusted begin to misunderstand your intentions. Plans fall apart without reason. Old fears you thought were healed resurface, sharper than before. You look at your reflection one morning and barely recognize yourself. The eyes staring back are tired, not from lack of sleep, but from carrying too much unseen weight. You whisper, "Why is this happening again? I thought I was past this." And the silence answers, "You are not being tested to see if you are strong. You are being reminded that strength means surrender." You exhale. You stop fighting. You start listening. The shadows are not here to destroy you. They are here to reveal the places where light has not yet reached. Each fear that returns is not regression, it is invitation. Every doubt is a doorway. Every setback, a mirror. You begin to notice that the people who challenge you most are the ones carrying fragments of your old self. The skeptic, the doubter, the victim. They appear as critics, cynics, enemies, but beneath the surface, they are reflections of your unfinished healing. This is the sacred paradox of awakening. The universe uses opposition not to punish you, but to polish you. So instead of defending yourself, you observe. You listen to the words that wound you most deeply. You ask yourself why they still hurt. And as you sit in the discomfort, a quiet truth rises. You realize that no one can truly wound you anymore, except the parts of you that have not yet accepted your own light. There are days when the darkness wins, days when you doubt everything, your mission, your purpose, even the voice that once felt divine. You feel abandoned by the universe, betrayed by the path you trusted. You fall to your knees, angry and exhausted. You whisper into the void, "You said I was chosen. Why does it feel like I'm being punished?" And then nothing, only silence, the kind that makes you want to scream. But then something subtle shifts. The silence begins to speak, not in words, but through presence. A stillness settles over you, warm and unbearable all at once. It's not comfort, it's truth, and it says only this: even this darkness serves you. You break down, not because of weakness, but because you finally understand. The universe does not save you from pain, it transforms you through it. It does not promise ease, it promises evolution. You realize that being chosen was never about protection from suffering, it was about learning to find light within it. Time blurs. The trial feels endless, but one night, as you sit in the dark, something inside you shifts again. You no longer plead for rescue. You no longer beg for signs. You simply sit breathing, feeling, surrendering. And in that surrender, you feel the fire again, not wild this time, but calm, not consuming, but illuminating. It lights the corners of your mind where fear once lived. It touches every scar, every wound, every regret, not to erase them, but to bless them. You understand now, the shadow was never your enemy. It was your teacher, and it taught you what light truly means. Light is not the absence of darkness, it is the mastery of it. As the days pass, you rise stronger, not in defiance, but in grace. You stop reacting, you start responding, you stop explaining. You start embodying. Your energy feels grounded, unshakable, sovereign, and the world notices. People who once doubted you begin to sense something different. A calm that cannot be faked, a strength that doesn't need to shout. They don't know how to describe it, but they feel it. They see it in your eyes, the eyes of someone who has walked through fire and no longer fears the flame. You've entered a new level of power, one born not from victory, but from surrender. And that is why the shadows fall silent, not because they vanished, but because they can no longer control you. But the journey isn't over, because when the shadows outside quiet, the shadows within awaken, and they whisper the most dangerous question of all. Now that you have power, what will you do with it? You pause. You think of everything you've endured, every loss, every lesson, every scar carved into your soul, and for the first time, you don't answer with fear, you answer with purpose. You know now that your mission is not about saving others, it's about embodying truth so fully that it awakens truth in them. Not through preaching, not through force, but through being. You are no longer the seeker. You are no longer the student. You are becoming the guide. The world will not make this easy. But you are no longer asking for easy. You are asking for meaning. And meaning, chosen one, is always born through fire. You stand in the darkness one last time and speak quietly, not to the universe, but to your own reflection. I am no longer afraid of the shadow. I am the light that shapes it, and the air around you changes. The stillness deepens. The world seems to hold its breath, because the moment you speak those words, the next trial begins, the final test, where faith becomes form and destiny demands action. If this truth reaches your heart, write 333 inches the comments. It's a prophetic sign that your light has overcome your shadow. The chosen one, the storm has quieted, the shadows have withdrawn. What remains is not peace, but purpose, a steady pulse inside your soul that whispers one word again and again. Now, you wake before dawn, as if something unseen has summoned you. The world feels suspended between breaths. The night sky, still heavy with stars, looks like a mirror reflecting what's awakening within you. You step outside. The air is cool and charged, every gust of wind brushing against your skin like a reminder that you are part of something vast, living, eternal. You've waited, questioned, doubted, surrendered, and now it's time, not to seek, not to heal, not to ask, but to become. You feel it before you understand it, a stirring of destiny. like a current rising from deep beneath the surface of your being. It does not ask for permission, it commands, and suddenly you remember every moment that led here, every heartbreak that shattered you open, every silence that taught you to listen, every storm that forced you to find shelter inside yourself. None of it was random, every moment was a thread, weaving you into the soul you have become. You understand now that the divine never wastes pain. It transforms it into precision. You are no longer the one searching for signs. You are the sign. You are no longer praying for miracles. You are the miracle. You are no longer waiting for light to find you. You are the light finding the world. The days that follow feel different. Time no longer feels linear. Every action, every word, every thought carries weight. You can feel the invisible ripples of energy moving outward, touching lives you haven't met, shifting outcomes you'll never see. You realize that your presence has become an instrument of creation. When you speak truth, the air vibrates differently. When you act with love, people soften. When you walk with purpose, the universe clears the path before your feet. But with this realization comes the heaviest awareness of all. Every choice now matters. You can no longer hide behind ignorance. You can no longer pretend not to know your power. You are responsible for what you emit, what you build, what you destroy. This is the true weight of awakening, not seeing the truth, but living it. You begin to move through the world differently. You no longer rush. You no longer chase. Your steps are deliberate, anchored, sacred. You stop speaking to be understood. You speak to awaken. You stop reacting to be right. You respond to restore balance. You stop searching for destiny. You begin creating it. People start to notice. Some are drawn to you. Others retreat. But you no longer take either personally, because you finally understand those who resonate will rise. Those who resist will fade. And both are part of the plan. You are no longer here to please the world. You are here to transform it. And yet, beneath this clarity, there is still one last echo of fear. The whisper says, "What if I fail? What if I lose everything again?" But this time, you don't silence the fear. You meet it with compassion. Because you know it's not the enemy, it's the last remnant of the old you. The part that still believes survival is the goal. You kneel and whisper to it, "We're not surviving anymore. We're becoming." And as you rise, something shifts. The fear dissolves. Not because it was defeated, but because it was seen. You are whole now, not perfect, not invincible, but whole. You have learned to hold light and darkness in the same breath, to love what is still healing, to trust what is still forming. Then, one morning, you sense it, the final awakening. It does not come with thunder or visions. It arrives as stillness. You are sitting quietly, watching the sun rise, when it hits you with undeniable clarity. The awakening was never about ascending. It was about embodying. It was never about escaping the world. It was about becoming the bridge between heaven and earth. You are not meant to live above life. You are meant to walk within it, awake, to bring the divine into the ordinary, to turn every breath into prayer, every act into creation, every word into light. That is your true mission. You understand now why the journey was long, why the fire was necessary, why the silence was sacred. Every trial shaped your vessel. Every fall strengthened your wings. The divine never wanted your perfection. It wanted your authenticity. It wanted your willingness to keep rising. You stand now at the edge of a new beginning. The world feels alive beneath your feet, the horizon calling like a pulse that matches your own. You close your eyes and breathe. You no longer ask what your purpose is, you simply live it. You no longer wait for the right moment, you are the moment. The universe does not need another believer, it needs a creator. And you, chosen one, have remembered that you are both. You whisper one last time, "I am ready." The wind moves, the light bends, and in that instant, everything recognizes you. You are not the seeker. You are not the student. You are not even the chosen. You are the becoming, the living expression of divine will. The story is no longer about awakening. It is about creation. And it begins now. As the first rays of sunlight touch your face, you feel it. The circle is complete, not the end of the journey, but the beginning of mastery. You were never waiting for a miracle. You were always meant to be one. Now rise, chosen one. The world is waiting for your light. If you feel this truth, write 333 inches the comments. It's a prophetic sign that your soul has crossed the threshold. Your awakening has ended. Your divine mission begins.